are some of your biggest like influences in the music game?
I would say a big influence overall for us are bands like Modern Baseball, the Front Bottoms, Mom Jeans. Personally, I'm a big fan of some alternative bands like The Strokes, Nirvana, obviously, Cage the Elephant, a lot of their early work. I feel like a lot of those song structures and a lot of like the vibes from those kind of influence the way that I look at songwriting, and I kind of try and approach things like based on that with my own taste. I don't know. The other guys are into some different stuff than myself.
Yeah, I'd say Modern Baseball for sure, for like influence on like our writing style and stuff. Like I'm more into like the pop punk scene, so I listen to a lot of like Canadian pop punk bands, especially like I love that Ontario pop punk playlist. I literally blast that all the time. But yeah, so like bands like Seaway, and then like stuff from the States as well, like Knuckle Puck, Bearings. I think no, Bearings is Canadian, I think. But like we throw a little bit of like pop punk in there too, because you know that's kind of like the bouncy flow.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Like the whole tone of the band is like Modern Baseball is obviously the main one, but I think like we all put in our own musical influences, like even in our own instruments, not even the whole song. Like we try to keep things creative and space things out a bit different, because we're still not even sure what our genre is, because we're always messing around with all this stuff. So
like Modern Baseball just encompasses like our entire sound,
Yeah.
pretty much. And then there's like just influences from
sad
other
music for the
bands,
teens.
just, like sad teenage angst. I don't know. I'm really into bands like Pop and the Dirty Nil, and yeah, I've been really listening to that new what's the Come Heroin? What's that band?
Oh, Touche
Oh,
Amore.
Touche Amore.
Yeah, I've been listening to Touche Amore, Manchester Orchestra a lot.
Yeah.
Those are
Oh yeah,
current influences.
There's a lot of influences on our music.
All right, so with talking about influences, and Josh, you brought it up with the sad music, but I'm gonna like change it a little, saying how the new song you guys are about to come out with, "Get a Life," has that like uplifting tone. What inspired you to write this song?
I would say it came out of a need to do something when there's nothing to do. I feel like with the movement of technology and everything, and just the world around us, like we always feel like we need something new. Like every 30 seconds, we need something new. And like we're at a time when the world is stopped and things are just being put on refresh. And like, I feel like I'm not seeing that many things that are like real, and it kind of hit me. And I wanted to write something about something that was more real than a lot of the things that I was seeing. So kind of follows the tone of like, I need to do something in a time when there's nothing to do. So what do I do? Like,
what's that lyric, Chris? The weather lyric? It's like in the chorus, I think.
Oh, there's nothing I can do but worry about the weather.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like I'm stuck inside. I'm just looking out a window. Like I can't even control that. It relates to a story of like not knowing kind of the right passage yet, and kind of finding your way through a dark place. Like you got a little bit of a lantern because you have a little bit of experience, but you don't have enough to really like know. Like a lot of people like in their teenage years, through their 20s, through their 30s, like nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's kind of taking their own stab at things. And I think that's kind of what it's talking about.
Talking about your style of music, are we still trying to find it within the alternative rock, or are we planning to continue to grow more in the direction of like where you want to be in that genre?
I mean, one of the things that I've kind of been pushing is not to limit ourselves to certain things. One thing, like I love pop punk music, but I find that the genre can be pretty limiting in like the sonic space of what is seen as the right thing. That's why I don't like to put us under like an emo rock or a pop punk, because I find it's nothing against the fan bases and stuff, but a lot of those fan bases expect some pretty specific things like that I personally love. Those are my favorite things, and that's the reason why I say this, is because I'm kind of like that. But we're kind of trying to explore more of the range of what we can do. We're trying to push that some parts so we go harder, some parts so we go softer, really focusing on, like, now that we have built a sound that feels like us, what different words can we say with it now? And like, what different textures can we lay down?
Okay. And then since you're like finding that niche for you guys, what's the overall dynamic of creating your songs?
We
comments.
We play a little bit of different roles, I'd say, when it comes into like the songwriting phase. Like, found out one thing we've been doing a lot lately is where Chris will come up with some kind of guitar work or some kind of like a little theme, sort of like we did with Summer Dress, and he'll send it to me. Like, here's like what I've got going. And then I look at it and I'll kind of like, oh, we could do this with that. We could do this with that. And we kind of mesh the ideas. And then once it's somewhere that we can build off from, we bring it to the other guys. And it's like, okay, how do you guys feel about this? Where do we need to build in these ways? Where do we need the extra emotion, like highlighted? How are we going to make these parts that we have glued together in a way that people are going to want to listen to? And then from there, like, we'll jam it out, and we'll like, that's where the trial and error comes in. And I find for most of us, it takes us like after the jam to kind of sit back and realize, okay, this is what happened today. How do we grow from this? And then
we're big fans of recording our practices and listening back on them because it's important.
I listened back 50 times.
Yeah, a lot.
That's how they get better in sports. So it's all about looking back at the footage and stuff and seeing what worked, what didn't work, what needs more work. And just being able to distinguish through those things, knowing what's good and what's not. It's a difficult thing to do as an artist, to think about things not subjectively, but it's something that's important. Because not only when you put something out are you making something for yourself, but there is obviously the element of this is now everybody's, and like, music is something to be shared.
Yeah.
So it's something you definitely have to keep in mind.
So then, talking about trial and error and recording your sessions, did that help you make the new song that's about to be released, Get a Life, into that emotional piece that you wanted it to bring forward for you to listen to and be proud of, but also when the fans get to hear it?
Yeah, somebody else can take that one away.
Yeah, Sam, you want Sam, go for
it. Yeah. Can you say the question again? I found with Get a Life, we almost like kind of worked backwards. We had this really, really long song, and we had to like trim a lot of fat. That, like, I don't know, it was almost like backwards. We had a lot of like, a thing that we do a lot is we love build-ups, and we'll just build up for like, minutes, like
for minutes.
Like, and it's just like the song never drops almost, like, or it drops right at the end. But like, after a while, you got to think like, man, are people actually going to listen to a 2-minute build-up or like a minute and a half build-up?
Yeah.
So we had to cut a lot of stuff, and at the same time, I think Chris Ma, you added a lot of like lead stuff as well, and I think that's the big thing. It's mostly just like creating a song structure, and then we listened to all those like recordings and stuff, and it was a lot of like trimming the fat, and then coming up with like a song that's like good 100% the way through, not just like, oh, this part's amazing, like it's all got to be good, or people will just like tune out.
Another part of the process, I'd say, Chris does a lot of time during the practices just experimenting with different things that he can do,
just noodling around like
all the time, and just like figuring things out, which is amazing, because that's not the $1,000 recording. Once we went to Noble Street, we sat down and we had like a nice bed where we had been practicing the song over and over and over, and Chris pretty much had a mental dictionary of everything he could possibly do with this song. So a lot of the stuff that came out during the recording of it was stuff that none of us in the band had even heard before, including him. And it was just kind of cool to watch that all come together, with Dex kind of like egging him on, like, keep it up, and kind of working with Chris's mind to kind of boil down to what's going to work the best, bringing in that, like, to what Sam was saying, those like pop elements, what's going to give it the punch. And it kind of turned out to something that was like beyond what we were even expecting going in.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's the fight?